few people. So like I don't even know who that is. But then Evan joined. I don't know who that is. And that's her, right? Ernesto, can you scoot in? Here. Are we good? We can't see anything on our end.
Okay, there's Ernest. Alright.
Should we back this up? We can back it up.
A little bit. Okay,
So we're live now?
Yeah, this is how you guys look right now.
Damn, my hair looks long.
Yeah. Oh, why is Junior calling me? Can you text Junior about this? Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me? For those of you who just joined, like David said, who's that old man? Can everyone hear me? We're just doing some quick changes before we start the program tonight. If you guys can hear me in the chat, can you drop a heart, please? Can anyone hear me? Thank you. For those of you joining, can you please send an emoji if you can hear us crisp and clear for everyone joining? There's a couple people join. Oh, okay. We have Villa Views. Villa Views has joined us. Thank you, Villa Views. What is that? Is that yeah, looks good. Yeah, looks good. All right, we got a couple people joining. We're gonna wait a couple minutes before we start, and I give this man the best introduction of his lifetime. But we'll wait a couple minutes or a couple of seconds, or just let people join. But before we get into today's guest, we're just gonna give him some quick questions. So, not question, for guest X, because we will name him in 5 seconds. Guest X, how are you feeling today?
Feeling fine. Feeling good.
How are you feeling yesterday?
The same. Feeling good, I guess.
Okay. Well, like I told this guy, we have Fatima joining us. Thank you, Fatima, for joining us. This is going to be the best podcast of your life. But for those of you who have joined, we want to thank you for joining. We won't let you down. This is going to be one of the best podcasts of our life. Leave a comment if you can hear us clearly. We're going to start in a couple minutes, and I'm going to give our guest a great introduction, and we're going to get the ball rolling. We have our team fully staffed, our director of IT and all things sound, Jose Antonio, in the back. The next pastor of our Washington Apostolic Church, Chris Fuentes, behind the scene, and the first lady and the director of music, Hennessy, is also in the back of production. So thank you, Matthew. God bless you as well in these troubling times. I hope God is treating you and your future wife with great care. All right, we'll start it. Welcome, everyone. This is the Jesus in Chill podcast, number fill in the blank here in our YouTube channel because we don't know what number this is, so it's fine. But I have a new guest. This is part of our youth, part of Washington Apostolic Youth. This man, this myth, the legend, his name is Ernesto Sanchez. We are humbled for him to have joined us today. He is known as the smartest man on earth. He is known as the oracle of church. He is known as the most handsome man at church. So this is Ernesto Sanchez. Can everyone give a round of applause here and in the chat for Ernesto Sanchez?
Thank you, Chochi. That was a introduction that I am not deserving of, but thank you.
So, Ernesto, this is your first time, and I know we discussed this before off camera, but any expectations, any thoughts of what today we might talk about, or just, I don't know?
Not really. I didn't really think of what we could talk about. I didn't know what it was going to be. When I was told about what this podcast was, it was just basically anything, so I don't really have any expectation.
Okay. I mean, that's fair enough. Here at Washington Apostolic Youth, the podcast creation team, we make sure the magic happens, and we keep that magic secret. It's like a secret sauce that we have. Thank you, Gabriel, for commenting. He said, "I think you undersold him," which I agree. No words, no language can describe how great Ernesto actually is. But so we'll get into this. So as our first topic and our new topic, it's called the Funky Four. So the Funky Four is, for those of you who are just joining, just a four questions, series of four questions that serve as kind of icebreakers, but also just to further understand where our guest stands in these hot and controversial topics, which are not hot and controversial at all. So Ernesto, number one, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why? You can take your time.
I mean, I've actually been asked this question many times, so I actually have an answer off the top of my head. After much thought, I guess I would have to say New Zealand. Mainly because from what I've seen, and I'm sure whatever you can see, it's a beautiful place to be. There's a lot of wildlife. There's a lot of stuff that I'm sure you can do outdoors and stuff like that. That at least here in the DC area we don't do. And everyone just seems nice over there too. So yeah, I guess I would say New Zealand. Australia's kind of up there, but I don't want things trying to kill me everywhere I go. So
Yeah.
New Zealand it is.
Okay, awesome. Fun fact, New Zealand is also the home to the Lord of the Rings, for those of you who did not know. Ernesto, can you confirm that fact?
Yes, I've heard.
All right, number two. Rolling on to number two. Ernesto's also our fact checker. Number two. What is your proudest accomplishment? Going a little bit deeper here.
Proudest accomplishment.
You can take your time. They just keep getting denser and denser. The levels just get a little bit harder, so it's okay to take your time. This podcast is sponsored by God this time. Thank you. Thank you, God, for sponsoring our lives.
I guess just to not waste too much time. I guess I would have to say where I am now. I guess my job, what I have. I guess I would say so far has been my biggest accomplishment, mainly because just there's, I mean, I've had to work for it, right? Like it's something that I've had to do a lot of learning for, a lot of extracurricular like classes I've had to take and stuff like that, tests for certifications that I've needed to take, and I mean, God gave me the opportunities, right? So I needed to make the best of the opportunities. So I mean, I am where I am now. So I think I would say that's probably so far, I think my best accomplishment or my proudest accomplishment.
Fair enough. And for those of you who don't know, obviously, it's a great blessing to have people like Ernesto in this church, because he can be a great source of, advice, and for someone to reach out to these people that are like Ernesto, that have all this experience and can teach the younger generation to be where he is without all those trials and tribulations that he's had to go through in his life to get where he is. It's always a great resource to have these people within our youth and within our community at church. So great answer, Ernesto. On a roll right now. So number three. We're gonna go to number three. What is a dream that you have that you've yet to achieve? Like I said, these are gonna get a little bit more deeper, and it's okay to take your time, because we want the highest of quality answers in this podcast.
Okay, so we're going with dreams.
Yes,
so it
dreams.
can be anything.
Dreams, anything left to the imagination.
All right, so I do have one thing that came immediately off the top of my head. One thing that I would like to do, or I dream of doing maybe one day, is actually being able to visit every single country in the world. I've just always loved travel. I haven't done too much travel. I've been to South America and Central America and stuff like that, but I haven't been to the Eastern Hemisphere or anything. But that is always something that I've kind of always wanted to do, and I haven't really had the chance with, just because time. And there's just other stuff that I've had to prioritize. But I would say that's one of a dream that I have. Just
where do you think that came from? Is it something that you just made up, or you maybe saw someone do it, or?
I think maybe it's a little bit of two things.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen I forgot his name. But it's some guy that works. I think he works for Vox. I do not remember what his name is. But one of the things that he does is he travels a lot,
Okay.
and that, I mean, to me that's cool, right? But even so, even before I've seen that, like, there's always been kind of this desire in me to kind of want to travel type of thing. So I've kind of always had that, and I like exploring. I've always been that type of person, I would say. So it's a little bit of both, I guess. I think.
I think God put that in your heart to be a missionary. Can we hear amen in the chat? It's like, no, that is awesome. That's a good dream. When do you think, if this is, we're going off topic, this is going to be a sub question of the Funky Four. When do you hope to achieve that by? Do you have a timeline on this?
I don't have a timeline. It's for at the moment I haven't really set a goal or anything. Just because I'm trying to. Okay, so I guess this kind of goes back a little bit to the question before is, even though I like the Lord has blessed me and everything with like my job and stuff like that, like I still want more type of thing. Like I don't want that to sound
Always
bad.
good.
I don't want that to sound bad, right? But I don't want to stay complacent. Just this is good, right? Like no, like I want to progress even more. So I've kind of been focusing on that aspect. So I don't know. Maybe before I die, I don't have an actual like date or anything, but I don't know. Maybe sometime.
Okay, cool. We'll make that a goal by the end of this podcast. We're gonna set a goal with Ernesto here, and the Washington Apostolic Instagram fam is gonna be a witness that we're gonna set a goal for Ernesto, and he's gonna achieve one of his biggest dreams. So stay tuned for the end. Okay, last question. The last question of the Funky Four. The fourth question of the Funky Four. For what are you most grateful for today? Once again, take your time. We prefer great answers over average answers.
Not trying to get all sappy or anything, but
Get as sappy as you want.
I would actually have to say my parents. My parents have always been very, very supportive. Even during like my rebellious phases and stuff like that, I'm still kind of rebellious every now and then. Not gonna lie, but they've always been supportive, right? They've always allowed me to, you know what, if he wants to do this, let him do it. For the most part, now that, so I would have to say them, just because even though they've been supportive, right, they've also tried to like teach me. They've instructed me in like just how to grow up, how to try to be as a person. And even though like, I mean, a lot of stuff like we're supposed to pick up on our own, right? We can't always depend on our parents for how we progress as a person. But they've always been there to just help me and stuff like that when I've kind of needed it. So I very much appreciate them. I would say them.
Good answer. So, like I said, the only scripted part of the show that we take pride on is the Funky Four. So now we're just gonna take it wherever the flow goes. So Ernesto, the biggest part of this new segment that we have of introducing the youth to Instagram and to those watching on YouTube and wherever is that we want to introduce them to the fellow youth at our church and our community, which is freaking awesome. Join our church if you haven't, or visit from wherever you are, because it's the best church in the world. Quoted by me, not anyone else. Quoted by me. So Ernesto, tell us a little about yourself, kind of your life story. We can go as deep and as far as you want, or as little as you want. Can you just tell us about you, who you are? Maybe we can go through your timeline of when you were a wee lad and to where you are now. We can walk through and then we'll pick parts that are good in between.
Okay.
Where'd you grow up? Where are your parents from?
Well, my parents they're from Nicaragua. They decided, from everything from what I've been told or I remember, they decided to come to the U.S. obviously thinking of us, just because there was a lot of wars and stuff going on at the time with just like the military leaders and stuff like that, and they decided that they didn't really want us to kind of go through any of that. So we kind of came to the U.S. I think like around 3. And I don't think I've actually told a lot of people this or anything, but eventually, like, I mean, we're legal. I'm a U.S. citizen and everything. I mean, I have to be for my job. But so we actually got granted asylum and stuff like that, just because of obviously different things that was going on and whatnot. So we lived in San Diego for a little bit. I was told that supposedly my parents' plans were that we were going to move to Canada.
Okay.
Interesting. I think my dad had like job opportunities or something like that over there in Canada, and he wanted to pursue them. So I haven't asked them, and they haven't really spoken about it into detail, but they said that something changed, I guess, their minds or whatever, and they ended up moving here on the East Coast to Maryland. There was a lot of people that we knew, that they knew, like Felix's parents. For those who know Felix and Alex, their parents, and a bunch of other people. So we kind of I've been in Maryland for pretty much all my life. Was raised there, grew up there, school there, yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, so going back to our last guest, which was last week, Marvin Prudencio, for those who don't remember, he kind of had a similar story as well, where he came from, the motherland, not from America. And, they kind of came here and they had a different lifestyle than someone who would be born here. And can you speak to some of the difficulties that you had coming to here because you weren't from here, like growing up or anything like that?
Well, I mean, I was 3, so I
Okay.
don't remember any of
fine.
it. I don't remember any. I have vague memories of my days in Head Start and kindergarten and stuff like that. I took, I think, like ESL for like a year when I was 4.
Yeah.
And I was a child, so I picked English up really quick. So I didn't really have any difficulties in that sense.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, great answer. Was religion a big thing in the household? Was that highly influenced from your parents?
It was. And I'll be honest, I hated it.
Do you still hate it? It's like, no.
I don't. But I actually hated it. Like I genuinely did, mainly because it prohibited me from doing a lot of things I wanted to do. And this is more so like during like middle school, going into high school type of thing, where like I wanted to do school sports and stuff like that, but because I guess there were times where there was Bible studies like 2 days out of the week, and that's usually when practices would align. So my parents, they're like, no, you have to go to Bible study and this and that. So I could never do sports, except for cross country.
Okay.
Just because all our practices were immediately after school, we didn't have to worry about it, and all of our meets were always on Saturdays. So Saturdays they could always drop us off wherever, anything. So that was actually the only thing I could do in high school for like sports wise, just because I guess you could say it fit into the whole schedule that they had for church, which I hated. But yeah.
Okay. So would you say your early experiences with church and religion, they were just really bad because of that?
Yes, I would say so. Just because I wanted to do other things and I couldn't because we didn't have time, or I couldn't because something else that I didn't know much about had to take precedence over something that I wanted to do. So yeah, I didn't like it that much.
So switching gears here, when do you think was the point where that resentment towards not necessarily God, right, but towards like religion and just the things that you couldn't do because of it? When do you think that switched or that changed for you? Take your time. Don't worry.
I'm trying to think if there was like a specific date,
or was there even a specific date?
I don't think there was.
You think it was more of like a transition?
Yeah, I would say it was more of a transition, just because obviously I was growing up, I was maturing a little bit more, kind of getting to know like who God is type of thing, because there's a difference between like being forced to be in a religion and do you believe in God, right? Like, yeah. So it's just a huge difference type of thing. So I think it was more of a transition. I say that I don't want to sound like it's like I was forced or anything. Yeah. It was really just me kind of all right, God, who are you type of thing. Like, are you real? Do you really exist?
Yeah.
They say you do, but do you type of thing. So, yeah, it was more so that. It's just, I kind of wanted like to start a relationship type of thing and just try to, I guess, figure out like, all right, just what my stance is and where my beliefs are type of thing.
What age range would you say that kind of happened? Would you say that was like high school or like
I wanna-
post graduation?
I want to say that was, I'm trying to think, maybe towards the end of high school or after graduation, after high school.
Do you think that your relationship with God, or maybe not, maybe with religion, would have been better if you would have had, let's say, like mentors in place that could have guided you, or I guess given you advice and things that would have changed your beliefs?
I think so, just because, I mean, growing up, I never really had a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really had anyone I can speak to about basically what I was feeling or what I thought about church type of thing, right? Like there was never really anyone there for me in that sense, that I could just speak to that way. I didn't really trust anybody in that kind of way. And I mean, a lot of my peers were like around my age anyways.
Yeah.
So everyone's like thinking the same thing. So I know some were probably more into church than others. But yeah, I mean, I think it would have. I think it would have helped. Just, I guess, get everything out in the air type of thing.
Have you ever thought of becoming that mentor because you haven't had that before?
I have. I have, but I don't know. So I don't know how to explain it, because a lot of times when people, I guess, again, maybe this is just me.
Yeah.
But a lot of times when people think about mentors or stuff like that, sometimes they think of a guidance counselor or something like that, right? Like, oh, you can go to your guidance counselor to help you out type of thing. But I personally, just because I know the way that I am and the way that I was growing up, I'm trying to figure that out, like how to be a good mentor / influence type of thing for those that are younger. One of the things that I try to, I guess, balance out is when I was younger, I wouldn't have wanted anybody to kind of tell me what to do type of thing. Everyone goes through that rebellious phase, right? Like, no, you're supposed to do this because you have to do this and you have to do that. And I know that doesn't work on me. So I don't want to impose that type of relationship or anything on anybody either, because if it didn't work on me, maybe it works on some people, right? But like my expectation is it generally probably wouldn't. So I try to find a balance, or I'm trying to understand or figure out how I can, I guess, establish more of a relationship type of thing. Not exactly, we don't have to necessarily be best friends, right? But there has to be an established trust, where another person feels comfortable opening up to ask you questions, right? Like, we don't always have to talk about it, but if they want, or if they have time, or if they feel like it, then you know what, I'll open up a little bit and ask this question type of thing. It doesn't even have to be the biggest thing, but that's kind of how I see it, like, personally, how I see it. So I don't know if I don't, like, again, right, maybe this is just me, I don't know if that's the same picture that everyone gets when they think of mentor, but that's something that I try to think of, as opposed to the whole guidance counselor type of ordeal. So yeah.
Gotcha. So kind of moving like in the same avenue of mentorship, because mentorship can kind of be seen as, serving in the church as well, because you're helping the younger generation develop into obviously something that you believe in, and just kind of like the religion aspect of it. What do you think about working in the church, and have you considered working in the church? Have you worked in the church in the past? And like, what roles have you worked in the church, if you have?
So I've actually, at the moment, I'm more of a sabbatical.
Okay. On a break.
Yeah. But I mean, I used to actually be kind of really involved. I was part of the translation team. I was part of RCM, one of the teachers. I would also teach the middle school aged, sometimes high school, but mainly middle school. And there was a time where I was also working where I was helping Pastor Carlitos. I was helping him with a bunch of things that he needed. And I was actually working for the church at that point in time. It was a while ago, but I was more of his like assistant and everything. Anything that he needed, I would always help him out. So I mean, I've been part of the praise team for the young people. What else? I've helped with the sound system in the back when they needed help. I've helped with the I don't know what the team is considered, but the team that works with ProPresenter, to have all like the lyrics and everything up there on the screen. I worked with that. I helped them out for a bit. So I've kind of been all around.
A man of many hats.
I've kind of been around, just helping a lot. So yeah.
Do you think that, what is your opinion on doing all those things? And do you think that you've been burnt out by doing all those things?
Yes, I would say so. I think, I mean, personally, because I experienced it, right? And after I've spoken to different people. I've spoken to one gentleman whose name is Michael out in Arizona. Felix's brother-in-law. Shout out to Michael.
Shout out, Michael.
I don't think he's watching this, but
shout out, Michael. I know you're watching.
But I've spoken to different people about it, and yeah, I would say I was burnt out. So you also have to kind of be able to find a balance between everything, right? Like for me, it kind of became like a part-time job, just trying to do everything, trying to help with everything. And it was really because they needed help, right? Like they needed help. So I wanted to help because they needed it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I kind of forgot to take care of myself, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just, like you said, right? Like I felt like I got burnt out, and it's like, I need a break. I don't want to do this anymore. Too much time, too much stress, and just eventually, that's why I'm on a break.
Yeah, no, understandably, especially with a smaller church. I wouldn't say our church is like extremely small either, but we just have a small pool of people who are willing to help, and the people that are willing to help often wear many hats like you have. You often see people that do translation are also in the praise team, and the people that are in the praise team also are like the accountant for the church or whatever, right? And it sucks because we don't have that pool, and we wish that more people would be involved. But that's just how it is. Let's do a hot take, a controversial take, real quick. What things do you think us as a church could improve to make sure that doesn't happen to people?
I think, and this is really something that I have seen in other churches, more American churches, not to say anything bad about anybody. That's not my intention. It's just more of examples, right, that I've seen. One thing I have noticed is a lot of their departments, even though they're different departments, they're kind of treated as an entity, like one single entity, right? Because it's still the church. So it's a little bit more run like, I don't want
a business.
Yeah. I don't know if that sounds bad or anything, but it seems like it runs more like a business type of thing, which I think is good. Just because there are times where the different departments kind of get together, right? And they talk and they have fairs, right? Like they have fairs about if someone's interested in joining a specific ministry, there's an actual fair, and there's a representative of the different ministries, and they talk to you about the ministries. Mm-hmm. And if you want, you can even try it out for like a week, a month, or, you know, if for whatever reason you don't think it fits you, they let you go to another ministry type of thing. So I guess I say that to say that I think a little bit more organization would help. Organization in the sense where I would say maybe structured is the word. Okay. Maybe like a more formal or a more elaborate structure of the ministries, and maybe someone that keeps those ministries accountable. Yeah. Asks them how their members are doing, how are the people doing. And it also helps when you have a bigger pool of people that are willing to help. But maybe taken into consideration, like, okay, maybe, you know, let's have this person take a break for, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks, a month, just so people don't get burnt out and stuff like that. So maybe a little bit better in that sense than maybe more administrative, structural type of thing. Maybe I would say would help.
Okay. do you think, because I'm a firm believer in this. I think that, there's no point of reinventing the wheel when you don't need to. And I think that's one of the things that we have in common, that I am a big proponent of taking someone or taking something, or like, for example, if we're talking about the way we structure how people participate and help out in the church, we learn from the bigger churches who obviously have done this and are doing it successfully and implement it with our church. And I feel like sometimes, right, hot take, no disrespect, right, but I feel like sometimes we are stuck in our own ways, and the people that are doing and leading, and they're just comfortable with what they're doing because they've been doing it for so long. And I think that's incorrect, because like I said, right, there's no need to reinvent the wheel if we don't need to. We don't need to make, how are we gonna make the praise team, or how are we gonna make translation team into the next level or whatever. It's like, okay, let's look at an example from, let's say, I don't know, Hillsong Church, right? They've been doing it very good for the past couple of years or whatever. Let's see what are they doing that makes themselves successful? How do they set themselves up for success? And let's try to implement that at our church, or let's see if it works, because obviously it works for them, but it might not work for us. And I think many people can agree with my point on that, because, I wouldn't say our church is dated, but like you said, there's things that can be changed to make it run more efficiently. And for example, have people not be burnt out because of the way it's structured right now. And I think it's a good point for us to learn, and for the younger generation, which is our generation, right? When we come up to those positions, or we are promoted, or if we want to pursue those positions, that we can do those things, and we can, welcome it in open arms, rather than just like disagree with it and just part it away.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think would help our church reach new members?
Oh, this could be. I don't know.
It's okay. Hot take. This is a hot take. Right? No need to signal Chris out. I hate Chris. Chris is a bad president. I'm being sarcastic right now, but right? It's okay. Like, this platform is meant to be for truth, and obviously don't call like, oh, Ernesto's really bad at leading, right? But it's okay. This platform is meant to be your true opinion, and obviously we want to grow from this.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to think and phrase this in a way that I don't
Yeah.
say anything that I probably shouldn't say, even though it's a hot take.
I like it. Just go with it.
Okay, so I think one thing that would help would be, I think maybe, so I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this correctly. It kind of has to do with the previous question in a little sense, which I think a little bit more organization with the different ministries would help, right? Like, that includes the deacons, that includes, like, I don't think our church has greeters, right? But I've seen greeters in a lot of different other churches that I visited. It helps bring a more welcoming atmosphere, at least that I've noticed, right? Because I've visited many different churches, and there has been churches where I've seen the difference, right? Like, I've seen the difference, and I don't get offended in any way, right? Like, I understand people are busy. I understand there's always something to do. So I never really took it the wrong way, especially since I've also been to church, right? But I guess trying to think outside my own four walls type of thing, where, so how would someone who is actually visiting the church for the very first time, or a church for the very first time, how would they take this, right? So I've seen the difference where actually having people kind of greet you and treat you like a person, other than just a number on a seat, actually goes a long way.
100%. I totally agree.
It goes a long way. And the way, again, right, like, I've seen the difference where, like, it's completely caught me off guard, where I've been to a church and the greeters are like coming up to me and hugging me, and like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm a little bit introverted, right? So,
Same.
Well, I'm primarily introverted. So I got kind of caught off guard. I was like looking around, like, why are they hugging me? Like, what's going on? but it wasn't in a bad way. Like it genuinely made me feel welcome.
Yeah.
Like I was like, wow,
People care for me.
they care for me, exactly.
Yeah.
And again, right, like this, the reason why I said this kind of goes a little bit with the previous question is because maybe administratively, right, like maybe people could do some training, or maybe they can, I guess, what's the word, it's slipping my mind, do like a little review with the people that is like, okay, so how have you been doing, like, do you think you like it? Do you think you're good with this? And just kind of evaluations as well.
Yeah.
Like evaluate. Just, I mean, you have it. Again, I don't want to make it sound like it's supposed to be a business type of thing, but if you're not doing something well at your job, you're gonna get called out for it,
Yep.
right? So like,
Yeah.
if someone's sitting there, and I'm not thinking about anybody in mind. It's just a very extreme example. So if someone is supposed to be, say, as an example, a greeter and everything, and they look at you, they like sort of touch you, it's like, hi, yeah, and like, and then you have the other person who hugs you and everything.
Yeah.
Like, there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And obviously with the person that hugs you, I'm not saying you have to hug people or anything. That's just what came out of that person.
Yeah.
But personally speaking, right, I would think that second person is more suitable for that position. And
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily saying fire the individual, right? But I mean, hey, like maybe it's not for them, right? Not everything's for everybody. Like I said, I helped out with a lot of the different type of ministries, and not all of them are for me.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't really do them anymore. I would rather give it to somebody who's gonna do that job more joyfully. Even though I did enjoy it, like I was never upset or never angry when I had to do it. I did it because it had to be done.
Yeah.
But I would rather give it to somebody who is able to give more of themselves to it, type of thing.
Okay.
I think it helps.
Okay. So going back to that point, because it all kind of disconnects. We have Marvin Prudencio saying Ernesto MVP. Can we give a quick shout out to Marvin as well? Go ahead. You can give him a shout out, Ernesto.
What up, Marvin?
Thank you guys for joining. We have a couple more people joining today. Thank you guys. You guys are in for a doozy. So just going back to that point, what do you think would be your words for someone who is thinking about joining a ministry, especially within our church? What words would you give them, and kind of like advice, but also a words of caution from your past experiences?
Well, I would honestly say, as like, hey, like honestly, keep an open mind. Like, you might like it, you might not, but always be honest. Like, be honest with yourself and be honest with whoever's in charge, right? Like, if you like it, you like it. You can, I guess I would say, to kind of give your whole heart into it. Like, if that's something that you genuinely want to do, kind of do it in a way that you would want to be treated. Like, trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes, right? Or do it in a way that you think someone should do that. And if for whatever reason they don't like it, right? I guess I would say, I was like, hey, like it's cool, right? Like there's it's fine. Like, you're not being forced. If you want to try something else, try something else. And I don't think. So I don't think there should be this, and I don't know, maybe it's because we come from Latin backgrounds type of thing.
Uh-huh.
We're kind of like, oh, if you don't do something, you're giving up. You're a loser. You're lousy.
It's like a stigma.
Yeah, it's a stigma, right? That you're lazy because it's like, or you just don't want to do something, right? So you kind of just have this like nameplate type of, like, I would say kind of forget about that, right? Like, if you don't like doing something, why do it? Like, you're not going to give your all to it. So like, what's the point? Like, why would you do something that you're not enjoying yourself? Like, if you don't do anything that you wouldn't enjoy yourself, something out there, like for your work or your school or something, why would you do it at church?
Yeah.
Or like, to me, like, it makes no sense at all. So I think we need, I guess in general, as people, we have to, and I'd say this more for the boomers, where it's like, yo, like, let people test the waters, let people experiment, like, let people test different things. If they don't like it, they don't like it.
Yeah.
If they don't, they don't. But I guarantee you that if they love it, I'm sure they're going to give their whole heart to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what people should be looking for, and I would say that.
Do you think that doing all these ministries, and obviously, maybe I wouldn't say failing, but discovering what you do and what you don't like, has helped you in your walk in your personal relationship with God?
I would say so. I would say so. Just because, like I said, right? Like nobody, I don't think anybody would love every single job that they've had, right? I'm sure somebody has done a job where they did it because they kind of had to, or they didn't, or to get experience type of thing. One thing, the reason I say that is because there's one scripture, I don't remember where it is in the Bible at the moment, but basically where it talks about how everything that we do, we should do unto the Lord, like it's unto the Lord. So I would say that I've always kind of kept that in mind when I'm doing these things. So even though for whatever reason, I didn't want to do it anymore, there were times where I continued doing it because there was no one else, or there were times where like there was just no one, period, right? So they needed somebody to do it. So it was more kind of working with my patience, working with my obedience, and working was like, hey, like if I saw a necessity, I saw a need, like, are you kind of willing to put yourself aside and kind of help out? So I would say it kind of helped work and I guess mold those areas in my life. So I would say so, and not just as a Christian, right? But I would say like in general, like my personality type thing. I think that's one of the things that has helped, kind of like helped chisel or build, at it.
So building off that, what do you like doing at church? What would be your ministry of choice if you were to go back to church or would go back to serving in church? We also have Daniel saying, "Hey, Ernest." we can give a shout out to Daniel.
What's up, Daniel? Okay, so there's two things. Well, maybe three. I don't know. It would really depend. But one thing I like doing, I actually like teaching. I loved working with the kids. I loved working with the middle schoolers, just because I don't know. It's a lot of times we forget how smart kids are. Yeah. Like a lot of times we think, oh, that's just a little kid. He's not paying attention. He doesn't know what he's doing. It's like, no, kids are freaking smart.
Yeah.
Like kids are smart. So I actually enjoy. I've always those experiences that I had with RCM. I really enjoy just working with the kids, working with the middle schoolers, just being kind of one thing that I personally like doing just in general is like I like understanding how people think. I like understanding how people are, why people think certain ways, why people think this way. I was like, okay, this person thinks this way because of this and this and that. I like doing that with people. So a lot of times I tend to ask a lot of questions just to kind of understand them. So I really much enjoyed what I saw with a lot of the kids and stuff like that. And I like teaching. So I would say teaching. I'm not going to lie, with this whole pandemic and everything, one thing that I spoke with Daniel about is, like, I miss singing. Like, I genuinely missed singing.
Yeah.
Which is why, I spoke to him and whatnot and went to some of the practices, but I genuinely miss singing. So maybe, right? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
It depends. And one thing that I would like to try out.
Preaching.
No. I don't know. Honestly, one thing that I do want to try, because I think other churches do it differently, but I would say this, maybe if I at another church, would take a look at their ministry, like their missions ministry, because I said, I have been on a mission trip before. I've been to Peru, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed being with the people. It's crazy how humble, and just grateful people are for the simplest things, like the craziest little things, right? Like, I know we all live in the US, so we're kind of used to this lifestyle. And it's just so different. Like, not that every church or everywhere you go to is a third world country, anything. Yeah. But the one I went to particularly was Peru, and we went to a more, I wouldn't say it was a poor neighborhood,
rural,
but it was more rural. Well, not necessarily rural. It was a town, but it wasn't well off.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't well off. And just a lot of different places that we went to, just a lot of people, I don't know. They helped. I don't know. I appreciated it. I really appreciated just being there with them and just helped provide things that they didn't have. Right, like a backpack.
Yeah.
Like here, like people have like 10 different backpacks like to collect. Right, some people over there struggle to have one. So I really would like to try that. But the reason I say another church is because I know different churches do things differently. And I don't know. I'd like to see how others do it as well.
Okay. Do you think? Do you think, like for example, right? You said you like to go to different churches to see, not only for that experience, but do you think it's a good idea for just regular church members that attend any church to visit another church just to see the differences and to see what other people do compared to what we have at our church?
I don't see why not. Like I don't like you said, right? Like when talking about reinventing the wheel. I don't think there's anything wrong with experience something or having the desire to try to see how different people do things, right? A lot of times it can spur up an idea, it can spur up a different type of desire in whoever it may be. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'd say go for it, right? Like do it. Like why not?
Do you think that's something that's frowned upon at churches?
I think so.
Or not frowned upon, but it's not they don't support it as much as
I would say so. I think a lot of people look at it as
they're losing people.
they're losing people, but at the same time, again, maybe like there's like a stigma, right? Where it's like, oh, you just go to different churches because you want to go to a church that likes different things or allows different things, type of thing. It's like that type of mentality type of thing where I think the boomers kind of need to get rid of because that's not always the case. Like that's not necessarily true. I don't think there's anything wrong with having an open mind at all. I don't think there's anything wrong with having an open mind. And again, right, like things work for a reason. Like if a church has 10, 20,000 members, it's for a reason, right? Like they're doing something right.
Yeah. It's not like they're holding them captive.
Exactly, right? Like people go there because they want to go there. So I don't know. I think also that type of mentality should kind of go away. Or that stigma, I guess. I don't know if that's the correct word or term. But I just to answer your question, I do think people frown upon that. And again, I don't want to take away from the fact that some people do that because they do that, right? Like go into both extremes.
There's both, yeah.
Yeah, there's both extremes. But yeah, I mean,
Okay, moving forward from COVID, right, in the land far from now that we can't predict when COVID ends, do you think once everything starts opening up and things get back to normal, do you think you'll have a bigger hand moving forward within our church and within our community?
I'll be honest, I don't know.
That's fine.
I don't know. Yeah, that's my question. I don't know.
I'm gonna hot take again. Why do you think that is?
Why? Mainly because I have been going to another church, right? Like,
yeah,
I've been going to another church. I needed some time off. And I've really been enjoying the church that I've been going to. Again, right? Like there is no perfect church. I'm not trying to say one's better than the other. No, that's not the case at all. But at the same time, I personally and kind of going through a journey where it's like I'm trying to figure out, okay, God, like, what do you want from me? Like, what is it you want me to do?
Mm-hmm.
So at the moment, personally, right, I'm also kind of going on my own little journey, trying to. I don't want to say find myself, right? Like that's
hippie.
Oh, excuse me. Are we allowed to say that word?
It's fine. We'll blur it out. We'll blur it out in post.
Just beep that out. But yeah, I'm just trying to figure out basically what. It's like I'm not, and I know a lot of people say it, but I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody either. It's just I don't like saying the thing is like I don't want to. I'm not the type of person that's like I'm not happy at our church. I'm not happy where I am. I feel like I need to grow, type of thing, and then not do anything about it.
Yeah,
like you might as well just stay quiet, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no point. I'm not that type of person. So I'm like I said, I'm kind of on a little journey trying to figure out, okay, what do you want me to do, God? What do you want from me? What is it that that you want me to do? Where's the direction that you want to lead me? So I'm trying to figure that out right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
What steps do you think that you've taken to kind of help you on that journey to help facilitate God helping you in finding what the answer?
Honestly, primarily is actually seeking more of Him, right? Like, cause let's be honest here as well. Like, we can't be like, yo, I'm gonna go find myself, let Jesus find me, but at the same time, you don't do anything to find Him.
Yeah.
So personally, it was more of trying to kind of get myself, because again, right, with my job, oh God, like where I was before, it was very, very stressful. It's in an environment where everything's super fast paced. Everything has to get going, and I love it. Like, I loved it, but at the same time, that doesn't give me room or time for anything. There were multiple times, and I've shared this with some people, where like, I legit worked 20 hours straight, right? Because I work in an environment that something, or the system that we manage, that we run, that we administer, has to be up 24/7. So if there's an issue, we have to get it fixed, especially for the people that we worked for, right? Like, it's like it has to work. Like, there is no ands if or buts. We can't be like, oh, let's leave it for tomorrow. No, that's not how it works. I work in IT. For anybody or wondering type of thing, I work in IT. And just to clarify, IT does not mean help desk.
Yeah.
That seems like to be the general consensus. So, oh, you work with help desk. It's like, no, that's help desk is help desk.
Yeah.
I work with VMware, for anybody that knows about that stuff. So it was just an environment that was very, very demanding. And it really didn't leave a lot for
anything else.
Exactly. So I'll be honest, right? Like, I stopped doing a lot of things that I used to do more when I had more time. Like, I didn't pray as much. I didn't seek God more, like try to figure out like who He is and any of that. Like, I stopped doing a lot of it just because I didn't have time. I was just so busy. So basically what I was doing is just, I guess, trying to get back into that, trying to just figure, okay, what I need to do, and just kind of go there type of thing. So I would say that, just kind of, I guess, going back to the basics. Different people describe it that way. But yeah. Okay. Sorry, it's getting hot.
It's okay.
I feel like I'm sweaty.
Can we get a bottle of water for Ernesto?
I have one.
Okay.
I should probably take off.
You can take off your. Okay. We got 5 minutes left. 5 minutes. Okay, we're gonna leave these 5 minutes for anyone in the chat that has any questions. I think we missed one. But we're gonna, for those of you who have questions for Ernesto, we got these last 5 minutes. If you want to hear the smartest answer you've ever hear in your life, you have 5 minutes to answer or to ask. So we're gonna address a question, 2 questions. I think it was 1 question. Okay, we have a question from Kimberly in California. She says, Ernesto, you are handsome, and also my question is,
what a liar.
What attributes should someone have that impose a sense of mentorship on younger people? So what qualities do you think a mentor should have? Yeah.
I would say someone that's open-minded, someone that's patient, someone that's understanding, because we have to remember, right? Like, a lot of times we try to draw from our own experiences, but we forget they're not us. Like, the way that they might react to something is not some way that we might react to something. And at the same time, people are always going to want to do what they want to do. Like, sometimes people get upset. Oh, he's not taking my advice. Why would I want to give him advice? It's like, that's completely the wrong attitude that you should take, right?
Yeah.
And you should be more open-minded, as like, hey, and kind of more understanding, in the sense that it's like, they're not me. They're not going to always do what I want. They might even, like, they might ask me for advice. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to take advice.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we're nobody to tell anybody what to do, right? Like, when, so I think someone needs to remember that, and just be nice, I guess.
Yeah.
Be more loving, more caring, as opposed to getting mad.
Yeah. I feel like mentorship, kind of like you said, it's a misunderstood topic where there's a lot of things like where you have to do what I say type of thing, and that's the wrong mentality. of approaching it, kind of like you said, because people want to be whatever title they want to be, a leader, they want to be a mentor, they want to be a singer or whatever, but they take the wrong approach to doing these things correctly. And especially in church, it can be very delicate because of what we're doing and who we're representing. And if we have the wrong mentality and the wrong mindset of how we do these things, it can be seen as a bad experience, and that also hinders people from going forward within their relationship with God and things like of that nature. So for those of you who just joined, we got a couple people joined. We got 5 minutes left to ask Ernesto any more questions. Like I said, once in a lifetime opportunity. Actually, 2 or 3 minutes to ask Ernesto any other questions. If not, we're gonna keep the ball rolling here. Ernesto, while we wait for the chat room to fill, maybe I think our server's overloading with questions, so that's why we're not getting anything. But while we're waiting for the questions to drop in, like I said, we got another minute and a half to ask questions. What have you felt about this experience? Do you have any closing remarks? Do you have anything you want to tell the people what you're doing? Actually, we can go back to what I mentioned earlier about setting a goal for your biggest dream. We're going to close out, ladies and gentlemen. Ernesto has a dream of traveling to every country in the world, right?
Yes.
Every country in the world. We're going to make an exact date for when we have these accomplished. And we want Ernesto to accomplish this because he's part of our community and we want our community to thrive. So Ernesto, what do you think's when do you think we should start this?
2061.
2061.
No, that's the end date.
Okay, I was about to say. Okay, starting next year, can you promise the people of Washington Apostolic Church to travel to at least one country every year from then on out? Can you make that promise? Promise to God.
Oh, shoot. Can I make the promise?
Can you make the promise and keep the promise?
I don't generally make promises I can't keep. I'm also a man of my word. So I'm a little reluctant to make this promise because if I say it, I'm going to do it. I can say that I'll try.
Okay. That's good enough. But you did say 2061, so you can't take that back.
As an end date. That's 40 years from now.
40 years from now, Ernesto should have traveled to whatever 200 countries there are. But okay, I think that's good. That's a good note to end on. So you heard it. We're going to come back at 2061. We're going to be podcasting by then. We're going to have the same format, the same house, the same clothes even. But yeah, so thank you everybody for joining. It's been a great podcast. Like I said, thank you, Ernesto, for joining the best podcast in the universe. We were humbled to have you in our...
I'm humbled to be invited.
in your presence, But thank you, Ernesto. We're going to close it off. Everyone have a great election night. And
let's go Biden.
Okay. God bless you guys and good night.